Hey everybody, it's going live here for a few moments just to share some thoughts with you. Just wait for a couple people to come on. All right. So hope you're having a great Monday. Just a quick message on a Monday afternoon about answering the call. There are so many things that we answer. We get calls about different things. Some we ignore, some we block, some we turn away, and some we answer. But there is a really important call that we all need to answer to, and that is the calling on our lives. And I was thinking about this and reflecting on what that entails. I thought about the story of Jonah. The Bible talks about Jonah, and Jonah was called by God for a specific purpose with a specific message. And Jonah ran from that message. He thought, why me? People aren't going to listen to me. People are not really interested in hearing from me because they have no idea who I am. It's too far. Every excuse you can think about, Jonah had it. And that reminds me of who we are. When there's something that we are ordained to do, we have a very specific calling on our lives. We have gifts and talents that God has given to us, yet we find reasons to not do it. So going back to the story of Jonah, God called him to go to Nineveh. And there he was to give a message to the people, very critical message. See, the people of Nineveh became very wicked. They were evil. They were just disobedient and doing terrible things to each other. And God had enough. And he said, Jonah, I want you to go to Nineveh and give my people a message so they have an opportunity to repent and turn away from their ways before I completely wipe them out. And so then Jonah decided that he was going to run away. He was not answering that call. He was going to turn away and go to Tarshish. And as he went to Tarshish, he got into a vessel. He got into a big ship, and he thought, okay, great. I can run from God. I don't have to think about this message that he gave me, and everything will be fine. But what he did not expect is that there was going to be a great big storm. And this storm was so tumultuous, the sailors all got very worried. And they started throwing everything overboard, all the wares, all the cargo, everything. And in the process of doing that, they found Jonah. He was asleep in the deep of the ship. And so they woke him up and they're like, Jonah, do you know what's going on? Do you know what's happening? And he says to them, what do you mean? And they said, we are about to perish in this storm. We're about to lose our lives. Come help us to throw this stuff overboard. Do you know what's going on? And he confesses to them. He says, you know, this storm, the moment it started, I knew why it happened. It's because of me. It's because of my disobedience to God and not answering the call on my life. God wanted me to go to Nineveh, and I'm running to Tarshish. And he said to them, you guys need to throw me overboard. Just stop right now and just get rid of me. And they looked to him and said, well, you're an innocent man. We can't really do that. Just come help us throw these wares and these cargo overboard. And that's what they ended up doing. But the storm would not stop. The storm continued to rage on with even greater intensity. And so what I want to let you know is that when you do things in your life, your actions, your behavior, when they are in contrast to what God has called you to do, you affect not only yourself, you affect all those around you as well. Take this message very seriously. You are affected by and you affect those around you. And so think about what's happening in your life right now. Think about the vessel that you're in and your behavior in that vessel. Are there things you need to stop doing in your personal life? Are there things you need to stop doing in your spiritual life or your business life? Because those things have an effect not just on now, but in the future. There are generations to come. Think about your children, your grandchildren, your grandchildren's children. Your behavior has great impact, and you really need to take a note of that. And sometimes, like Jonah, you need to throw yourself overboard or ask someone to do it for you. But you know that there are changes that need to happen. What I found interesting about that story is that Jonah was not willing to throw himself overboard. He wanted the people he negatively affected to do it for him. And so they were not prepared to do it just yet. They thought, let's get rid of some things rather than get rid of the person. And when nothing helped, they decided, you know what? Our lives are at stake here. We can die right now. And so they decided to throw Jonah overboard. And immediately, the storm ceased and everything was calm again. I want you to think for a moment about your life. How challenging is it? How raging are the storms in your space, in your vessel, whatever that vessel is? Know that sometimes there are difficult decisions that need to be made and actions that need to follow, but once you do, immediately the change will happen. The calmness, the peace, the obedience that brings about the necessary actions in your life will be manifested. And so now Jonah is in the ocean. He is in the deep darkness of the waters, and it's unfamiliar territory. Now, he just left very familiar territory and people he knows. And he is literally drowning. He's literally sinking. But God wasn't finished with him yet. I'm so grateful that God isn't finished with me yet either. And so instead of having him drown in this dark, deep, cold water, he decided to send a big fish. And the big fish swallowed up Jonah because God still had a work for him to do. If Jonah decided to be obedient, if he decided that he was going to indeed listen and answer the call on his life, God gave him another opportunity to do that. And so now he's repentant, he's prayerful, he's pleading with God to give him another chance. And he had 3 days and 3 nights in the belly of that big fish to think about his life and his decisions. And then he was brought onto dry land and had the opportunity to do what God asked him to do. And so he journeyed on to Nineveh. He delivered the message. People repented. They were saved. And there's more to the story, but I just want to leave you on that note that when we follow God's will for our lives, God's calling on our lives, there are people who will be saved, who will be impacted in ways unknown to us. Yes, it might be uncharted territory. Yes, it's going to be dark and scary. Yes, it's going to be uncertain. But all you're required to do is to be obedient, to answer the call regardless. Step forward in faith, and the rest of the story will reveal itself. There are people waiting on the message that only we have to deliver. And sometimes in running from our calling, we'll work on other people's callings before we even work on our own. And trust me, I know this to be true. But we have special gifts and talents that were given to us by God for a special reason. Won't you answer the call today? Won't you do what you were put on this earth to do, to bless others? There are people waiting for you. They're waiting for your story. They're waiting for your message. They're waiting for just what I can bring to them. Does that mean that we couldn't partner up with others on their message, on a common mission? No, it doesn't mean that at all. It means do not neglect to answer the call on your life. Won't you join me? I'll be here every day. Starting today, I look forward to being here with you tomorrow. I want to help people to unleash their power, to answer the call on your life, to stand in your purpose, and to passionately live life and business. I look forward to talking with you soon as you answer the call on your life.